People die on Highline Trail. Many people immediately think bears, but they're wrong. We invite you to come with us to hike Highline Trail from Logan's Pass to the Loop Trailhead to discover 11 essential questions you should ask to make your hike enjoyable and survive Highline Trail. Let's get started. Let's just come right out and say it. This hike isn't for everyone, but by the end of this video, you'll know whether you and your family, even your kids, will enjoy it. People die on Highline Trail with slips and trips. Jennifer Coleman fell and died hiking the Highline Trail up to Grinnell Glacier Overlook in 2021. Windy conditions may have been a factor, but fatigue and difficult terrain increase your risk of a fall too. So, while we start our walk and talk, or might I say hike and mic, many people ask, how difficult is the Highline Trail in Glacier National Park? The Highline Trail in Glacier National Park is considered difficult. There are a lot of ups and downs on this hike, but the trail descends over 2,000 feet if you start at Logan's Pass and is well maintained, making it accessible for hikers who are reasonably active. But the biggest challenge for many people is a narrow cliffside section early in the hike, where the trail hugs a rock wall with a steep drop-off, where if you'll fall, you'll bounce off going to the Sun Road far below. There's a sturdy cable bolted into the wall for extra support, but while this part can be intimidating, it's fairly short and manageable for most hikers once they're on it. But we saw one mom frozen on the cable while her daughter tried to help her get the courage to continue hiking. Those afraid of heights will find this section difficult to impossible. But if you can handle it and want to continue, we'll get into the distance and gear recommendations later to help you decide to hike it for sure, but you may be wondering why people even bother with this trail. So, why is Highline Trail in Glacier National Park so special? As you can see, the Highline Trail is considered one of the best hikes in Glacier National Park because of the sheer variety and beauty packed into a single experience. From the moment you step onto the trail, you're surrounded by breathtaking views of glacier-carved valleys, towering mountains, and endless fields and wildflowers, but what might be more dramatic is the wildlife. We saw fresh bear scat, but more fun were mule deer playing in and out of the pine trees, and the bighorn sheep high up along the Continental Divide, often called the Garden Wall. As you descend from the Granite Park Chalet, you may get lucky like us and witness many mule deer grazing within arm's length off the trail. But even without wildlife, the Highline Trail offers panoramic vistas that stretch for miles in every direction for you to enjoy. Now that you know why this trail is worth it, let's get into details while we hike from beginning to end to help you plan for your successful hike. What is the best way to hike Highline Trail in Glacier National Park? There are 3 ways to hike Highline Trail in Glacier National Park and good reasons why you might choose each one. We hike the trail from Logan's Pass to the Loop Trailhead. For those hiking the whole trail, you'll discover a trail that descends. Logan's Pass starts at over 6,600 feet above sea level, and the trail ends at the Loop, 2,200 feet lower. For comparison, One World Trade Center in New York City, the tallest skyscraper in the United States, is only 1,792 feet tall. But you may want to hike from the Loop to Logan's Pass. See, the parking lot at Logan's Pass tends to fill up early. We'll discuss how early a little later, but if the lot is full, you will want to try to park at the Loop and hike the trail in the opposite direction. The hard part will be the hike to Granite Lodge, but after lunch or a little break, there the trail opens up and is a lot more enjoyable. But for those that aren't up for the full trail, you might be asking, can you turn around on the Highline Trail in Glacier National Park? Highline Trail in Glacier National Park is 2-way. If you don't want to do the whole trail, you may want to start at Logan's Pass and hike out as far as you want and turn around and return to your car. We found it is better to plan a time rather than distance. If you feel like you want to hike 4 hours, plan on hiking out an hour and a half and turn around after a short break. We found the hike back up is slower than the hike down, but that means you have to hike the cliff twice. And on the way back to Logan's Pass, you'll be on the cliff side of the trail, not the side with the cable. Our brood have at least 1 or 2 with a fear of heights, and we were not going back and happy we decided early to hike the whole trail. So even if you want to turn back, you may want to plan to hike the whole 12 miles and pack enough water and food to do so. Because if you're like us, once you get through the cliff, you don't want to look back. Before we continue, are you liking this walk and talk or hike and mic format? Subscribe now so our videos show up when you search your next national park adventure. Now, if you want to hike the whole trail, you may be wondering, how do I get back to my car after hiking Highline Trail in Glacier National Park? After hiking the Highline Trail in Glacier National Park, most people finish at the Loop Trailhead, which is several miles down the road from where they started at Logan's Pass. To get back to your car, you'll typically need to use the free Glacier National Park shuttle system. The shuttles run along going to the Sun Road and connect major stops like Logan's Pass, the Loop, and the Apgar Visitor Center. Once you reach the Loop, you can catch a shuttle going uphill back to Logan Pass, where your car is parked. It's a pretty common routine for Highline hikers, but it's important to note that the shuttle system can get very crowded, especially midday and in the afternoon. With our brood, I chose to ride the shuttle back to Logan's Pass and then drive back to my family and pick them up. The shuttles are just too crowded for a family of 5 to get a seat. Sometimes you might have to wait for a few shuttles before there's space for even one person to board. Starting your hike early in the morning can help beat the rush. If you use this option, plan on at least an hour to retrieve your car and get back. Another option is to set up a 2-car shuttle where you park one vehicle at the loop and another at Logan Pass before you begin hiking. You could also drop your car at one lot, take the shuttle to the opposite trailhead, and then hike back to your car. But it's smart to check the Glacier National Park shuttle schedule ahead of time because operating hours and frequency can change depending on the month and weather conditions, and you don't want to rely on the shuttle only to find out it's not running. Check our video description while you watch for a link to the National Park Service shuttle page. Every good hiking video needs a dad joke. What do you call a bighorn sheep who can sing and dance? A lady baba. This is terrible. What's your favorite dad joke? Join the conversation by sharing in the comments, and maybe we'll use your joke in a future video. We respond to questions too, so bring them on. Okay, we'll talk about how long the trail is a little later, but let's get back into the questions with, what gear should I use to hike Highline Trail? There's a lot you should consider when hiking Highline Trail in Glacier National Park. Most important gear choice is what you wear. For this long of a hike, good hiking shoes or boots are the most important, but you should also make sure you dress in layers. We started our morning in chilly weather and had to remove layers throughout the day. But storms could move in, or it could get windy, and you may need layers if the weather turns nasty. For this difficult trail, trekking poles are recommended, and make sure you wear a good hiking day pack with a water bladder. With this long of a hike added to the other 40 miles this trip, our shoulders got tired and good lightweight packs really helped. At this altitude, the sun can be brutal any time of year. Make sure you bring a hat, sunglasses, and wear sunscreen. We'll share what to pack for this hike in a minute, but you may question, is the Highline Trail in Glacier National Park worth it? Highline Trail is a challenging and beautiful adventure. The trail is very open, with little shade, meaning hikers need to be prepared for strong sun, sudden weather changes, and wind gusts. But the elevation peaks over 7,200 feet above sea level, which can make the effort feel harder even though it's not extremely steep. The Highline Trail requires a good level of fitness, comfort with heights, and preparation for variable mountain conditions. We enjoyed the clouds developing in front of us and sweeping away during our hike, but it was a little cold starting out in the fog. But with grand views, wildlife sightings, waterfalls, and wildflowers, you'll discover a magical elevated paradise. It's a challenge, but for most seasoned hikers, the experience is absolutely unforgettable. But you may also be asking, what should I pack when you hike Highline Trail in Glacier National Park? Highline Trail in Glacier National Park is well marked, but you may want to bring a GPS, compass, and map along with your phone. It's good to know how long you've hiked and how much of the hike is left to complete. But we also make sure we pack a first aid kit in case anyone gets injured. But even a blister can be protected with a band-aid, and the first aid kit may just save your hike. Due to the slopes along the trail, we also bring a rescue rope. If someone loses their footing and slides down the hill, a rescue rope could be what saves them quickly instead of risking others or waiting for search and rescue. Bring a flashlight in case you end up on the trail after dark. Pack plenty of food, including a meal, salty snacks, and sweet treats for little ones and adults alike. We saw fresh bear scat, and it reaffirms the need to carry bear spray. But more importantly, make sure you fill the water bladder in your day pack, and depending on the weather, add water bottles if it's going to be hot. We'll put examples of the gear we hiked with on the Highline Trail in our video description. Check it out now while you watch. So how long is the Highline Trail in Glacier National Park? The Highline Trail from Logan Pass to the loop covers about 11.6 miles and typically takes most hikers between 6 and 8 hours to complete, but plan on 8 hours or longer if you are slower or take a lot of pictures and breaks. The time can vary depending on your pace, how often you stop for photos, wildlife viewing, or rest breaks, and whether you decide to take the optional spur trail up to Grinnell Glacier Overlook, which adds extra mileage and a steep climb. Most of the hike follows a more advanced downhill trend after reaching Granite Park Chalet, but it's still a long day on your feet with significant exposure to the sun and changing mountain weather. It's important to start early in the day to allow yourself plenty of time to complete the hike without feeling rushed. We've talked a lot about the trail so far, but where is the Highline Trail in Glacier National Park? Since this is your first time, it's important to give you clear directions. The Highline Trailhead at Logan's Pass starts across going to the Sun Road opposite the parking lot. We got to the parking lot before dawn at 6 a.m. in a fog that reduced our visibility to 0 while driving up to Logan's Pass. We watched the parking lot fill by 7 a.m. with those that arrived late clearly disappointed and desperate while we waited for the fog to clear. But here you can see the beauty when the fog would clear a little. You will walk through some small pines and then get right into it with the cliff wall. The end of the trail is a 7.8 mile drive down to going to the Sun Road at the Loop Trailhead, where there are about 30 parking spots. Granite Park Trailhead is here. That will connect the Highline Trail at the Granite Chalet. From St. Mary on the eastern edge to Logan's Pass is about 20 miles or 35 minutes, but from the more popular West Glacier, Logan's Pass is 32 miles and can take up to an hour depending on traffic and how fast you can navigate the twists and turns and tunnels. Can kids hike Highline Trail in Glacier National Park? When our brood hiked the Highline Trail, they were 15, 13, and 11. We hiked the full 11.6 miles and it was a day. As you can tell, all three are healthy and active, but they just got out of their soccer season and were in their best condition for hiking these trails. We've also been hiking for 7 years and they have the experience and mental toughness for these hikes. We're very happy that we waited this long for Glacier and the Highline Trail. You can take kids on Highline Trail, but it would be best to start at Logan's Pass and plan on turning around if they get tired. But that means you have to traverse the cliff wall twice. Older kids with experience, no problem. In fact, better than a lot of parents with a fear of heights. But younger kids that are less controlled and don't understand the risk of Highline Trail might not be right for this hike and the cliff section of the trail. To continue planning your trip to Glacier National Park, watch this video next.